When they announce a remake, especially in the horror genre, it's usually generally met with a bunch of skepticism by people who love the original film. Well, I sat down and watched a remake last night, and boy, oh boy, this is going to be fun to talk about this S show. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone is doing well out there. And today we're going to talk about a remake. Now, a remake that was announced June of 2019 by Jason Blum. He announced they were going to remake Black Christmas for the second time. Now, I love the 1974 original Black Christmas, written and directed by Bob Clark. That movie is a classic, in my opinion, and it's the best Christmas horror film ever created. Hands down, in my opinion. Now, let me give you a little bit of a warning. This review is going to contain many expletives. So if you have young children around and they're not used to hearing the F-bomb, I would recommend removing them from the room before you continue. Okay? Here we go. Now, Bob Clark gave us two Christmas classics, Black Christmas, 1974, and A Christmas Story. In 2006, Bob Clark helped produce, and it was created by the two gentlemen who did the original Final Destination, remade Black Christmas. They called it Black Xmas, but it was a remake of Black Christmas. That movie's okay. It's an absolute bloodbath. It's very gory. I haven't seen it in a while. I never really fell in love with that film. I thought it was okay, but I'm overdue for a rewatch on that, so maybe next year I'll do that around Christmas time for a review. Now, Jason Blum announced this last June. It came out last December 13th, so a little over a year ago from today when I'm recording this. He announced it. I was mildly curious about it, okay? I'm like, well, I guess it could work, but do we really need a second remake of this film? I mean, I don't know. They hired a director, Sophia Takal. I'm not familiar with her work. She's directed other things, and she's acted in different projects. I'm good or bad, it doesn't matter. I'm just not familiar with her work. So I've never heard of her, but I read some reviews or interviews with her while this film was in production, or maybe it was after production. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And she said she wanted to make a very feminist film. Alarm bells started to go off in my head. That told me, if that's what you're mostly concerned about, that tells me you're more worried about your agenda that you're trying to push down people's throats than actually making a good film filled with suspenseful scenes and good kills, since you're making a freaking slasher film. So alarm bells started to go off. Then it was announced it was going to be PG-13. Now, before people start screaming about what I'm about to say, I agree you can make a very scary horror film that's PG-13. I've seen it done. There's films that are PG-13 that I think are absolutely have some really good scares in them. Do not discount that, okay? That's not what I'm about to say. What I'm about to say is, my opinion, that you cannot make an effective slasher film PG-13. By and large, it goes against everything that we've seen in the slasher genre. I'm not saying you can't subvert the genre or a slasher film and do something a little different, but I am on the belief, call me old school, that you cannot make an effective PG-13 slasher. And the 1974 version is not a bloodfest by any means, but it's a pretty damn intense film. Now, the 2006 remake's an absolute fucking bloodfest. There's the first F-bomb. There's going to be many more to come, believe me. This is going to go downhill like a bobsled very quickly. So it took away the curiosity points I was given the film got diminished greatly. And then I wrote it off. Then I'm like, I'm not going to see it. Screw it. Maybe I'll see it on video when it comes out. And then the reviews hit. Some other YouTubers released reviews. I read some stuff online. And it seemed like the consensus was this was a shit film. So I kind of forgot about it. I kind of ignored it. I forgot about this film. About a week ago, my wife and I have AT&T fiber for our home internet. And we just realized, they didn't tell us, but we get HBO Max for free. So me and my wife set up the app, and I was looking through the titles on there, and I saw this was on there. And I'm like, well, I've been doing a few horror reviews for Christmas, some horror entertainment for Christmas, and I was thinking, okay, fuck it, I'm going to sit down and watch this thing. I'm going to keep an open mind. I'm going to sit down. I sat down by myself, my Christmas lights on, I set the mood, and I hit play on this thing. And before I get into the film, holy fuck. This is a dumpster fire of epic proportion. This is a shit train on the way to Shitty Town. That's the way I'm going to describe it up front, but we're going to discuss it a little further. So, okay, Sophia Takal co-wrote and then directed this film. Okay, now there's only two actors in this film that I'm familiar with or I've seen before. The first one is Imogen Poots. She plays Riley, our main character. She goes to this college, Hawthorne College. I like Imogen Poots. She was in the Fright Night remake. She was really good in that. She was in a film called Green Room, which you've never seen. I recommend checking that out. And she was in Neil Marshall's Centurion. That's where I've seen her, and she's always very good. The other actor's been around for a long time. It's always a pleasure to see him on screen. Cary Elwes. He was in The Princess Bride. The Crush with Alicia Silverstone. He was in Kiss the Girls with Morgan Freeman. He was on Psych for a few episodes. So Cary Elwes has been around for a long time. He was in the original Saw movie. And he's usually very, very solid. And I always enjoy seeing him on screen. So, given that, the movie starts off with... Now, hold on. The movie was released December 13th, 2019. It's PG-13, had a $5 million budget. When upon release, it made $10.4 in America and $18.5 worldwide. So it was not a huge hit for good goddamn reason, and we're going to talk about it right now. The film starts off, we see this college student walking down the street. She's on her cell phone, there's snow on the ground, there's Christmas lights. Already I'm digging the setting. Now, about 30 seconds to a minute after this, all my positivity starts going down. I do have a few minor positive things to say about this. It's not going to be a total shitting on this film, but there's going to be a lot of that. She's on her cell phone and she starts getting weird text messages. She notices behind her, there's a guy walking about 10, 15 feet behind her, and he's on his cell phone. So right away she thinks it's him sending the messages. In a terrible, awful jump scare that doesn't work and misdirection, the girl turns around to confront the guy, but he already started walking across the street to another house. So she knows it's not him, and then she turns around, she's startled by this figure standing there on the sidewalk in a robe and a mask. And what happens after this is a terrible chase scene through this small yard in front of this little house. And this girl gets killed with an icicle. It's bloodless, scareless, suspenseless, bland as hell. It just happens. They were introduced to Riley. She's a part of this sorority house. And we come to find out very quickly that she's been, I think she's a senior in this, I think so. Who fucking cares? It don't matter. That she went through a sexual assault by the head fraternity brother at this fraternity house. He drugged her, roofied her, and I don't know, they don't ever say rape, but she was sexually assaulted. And this weighs on her. So right away she has our sympathy. Obviously, as a decent human being, you feel sorry for somebody like this, naturally. And Imogen Poots does well in this role. That's one of the positives of this film. One of only two. And then we're introduced to the rest of her sorority sisters. Now her main friend and main leader of the pack, I guess you would say, is the most obnoxious, talking point spewing, miserable fucking human being you'll ever meet. To her, every guy's a pig, every guy's a misogynist, a rapist. The patriarchy is evil. What the fuck she's talking about, I have no idea. And she protests everything that has to do with men, it seems like. Like, this is the kind of person you would not even want to fucking hang around with. Like, she would be a wet rag to hang around with. And matter of fact, most of the characters in this film are assholes. Complete and utter fucking scumbags. Just because their point of view of the world. Like, this girl's point of view of the world is so toxic that her fucking life is going to be meaningless if she don't snap out of it before she gets older. I just can't believe people live like that. If they do in real life, I don't know how the fuck they do it. Anywho, even the rest of the sorority girls are not very pleasant. Now, the one girl has a boyfriend, and he seems nice. And during the film, Riley meets this other guy named Landon. He seems like a nice guy. But every other guy in this film is portrayed as a fucking scumbag. Or talked about like they're the biggest piece of shit on the planet. This director obviously has a hard-on for men. She doesn't like men, obviously. That's at least what I got from it. Which is fine. Whatever. I don't give a shit. Let's go on. So the girls are performing at this fraternity house that Riley got sexually assaulted in. I think it's called TKO or DKO. Who gives a fuck? This movie's not that good to even care. So they perform this song, and they're kind of poking fun at and calling them out on their sexual harassment and sexual assault claims that have been against them, and it pisses them off. But before that happens, there's a girl from their sorority that's supposed to sing that kind of disappears, and Riley goes to look for her, and she opens doors to this room, and she sees the bust of Hawthorne, the founder of this college, and she sees them perform some kind of ritual with the pledges of the frat. She doesn't really know what's going on, but then she goes back, and they do their song, and then they leave the fraternity. Okay. This is important later on. I swear I'm mentioning that for a reason. It's a big point of contention for me at the end of the fucking film. So they go back to their house and they're going to cook this dinner. They call it the orphan dinner because it's for the people not going home for Christmas. That they're going to spend Christmas together and not go home. They're not going home to their families. Okay. Before this happens, one of their friends goes back to the house. I got to mention this. And she's packing to go home for Christmas. And they have a cat in the house named Claudette, which is a callback from the original Black Christmas. They had a cat in the house named Claude. Well, the director decided to rip off a fucking scene directly from The Exorcist 3. They'll say it's a homage. I call it a fucking ripoff, and a shitty one at that. In The Exorcist 3, which is a very underrated horror film on its own right, and it's a fucking excellent sequel to the classic The Exorcist. William Peter Blatty, who wrote and directed that film, expertly pulled off one of the greatest jump scares of all time. I won't go into it. Do yourself a favor, never seen it, check out The Exorcist 3. Well, the director of this film does the exact same fucking scene, only in a sorority house, and it's dull. There's no suspense. The girl goes room to room looking for the cat. You can hear it meowing. So she's going from room to room looking for it. We, as the audience, we see the cat come out because the camera is locked off back here. Looking forward, we can see like 3 different doorways in this little hallway. The cat comes out of one room, is under a chair. She's in one room, comes out, she sees the cat, starts walking, and a figure dressed in a robe and a mask comes up behind her, starts choking her with a string of Christmas lights. It doesn't work. Unlike what William Peter Blatty did, which was suspenseful and it works, this does not work. Comes off as bland, poorly executed. It's just fucking terrible. It's like you decided to pay homage to this better scene, and you fucking did it terribly. You couldn't at least match it or at least get close. It just doesn't work. Anyway, we fast forward this dinner. They're preparing this dinner, and the one girl that has the boyfriend that's actually a decent dude, one of only 2 in this whole fucking film, because they portray everybody as a fucking scumbag. Every man is a scumbag. The girls are arguing. They get in an argument, and this guy just fucking, he's had enough. And I was actually on his side. I'm like, yeah, man, these chicks are fucking out of control with their bullshit. And he starts going off. He goes, what did you expect? You're going to call those guys out, and they're not going to fucking want to play a prank on you girls? You don't think they didn't piss them off? And by the way, he goes on, not every guy's a fucking rapist or a misogynist. I'm not, but you act like every one of us are. What the fuck? I have no power. And the one girl that's the real feminist starts flipping out on him, like, and he decides to leave. And I'm like, I wouldn't even hang around. I'd break up with that chick and not even go back to that fucking house, because there's no helping these chicks. I'm sorry, there's not. Their view of the world is so fucked up that you're not going to be happy hanging around with these fucking people. So he leaves, and all of a sudden, these guys in robes show up and start killing. They kill 2 of the girls, and Riley and the feminists, get out, get in the car, and start driving. Now, what I'd like to call a Scooby-Doo fucking moment, Riley all of a sudden has an epiphany, and she lays out the whole plot to her friend. Even things she hasn't seen or has any proof of, she lays it all out, and it happens to be true. It's almost like the writer-director thought the audience was too fucking stupid. We have to spell it out for you in this exposition dump in the car. It goes on for like 5 fucking minutes. And she lays that all out. So they go to she wants her friend to drop her off at the fraternity house, because she realizes in her mind she has to smash the bust of Hawthorne, and it'll break whatever hold it has over the guys. That's, okay, here's where we're at. Now, her friend doesn't believe her, drops her off, and takes off. Okay? She runs into Landon. He decides to help her because she talks him into going in and running interference for her with the guys while she gets to the bust, and so she could do whatever she's going to do to it. Meanwhile, her friend sees this other sorority house getting raided by these guys. They killed a bunch of these guys that try to kill them. So she collects them all in this Jeep Cherokee. Landon gets jumped by the guys. He gets possessed by the bus, so he's now in with the fraternity. Riley gets captured. All of a sudden, her friend shows up with these other girls, and we get a shitty fucking action sequence like out of the Avengers. Only one of the worst fucking action scenes I've ever seen. It's poorly executed. It looks like it was planned on the day, and it just doesn't work. And they're kicking these guys' asses, and then Riley smashes the bust. Now, this is important. This is what my whole review is based on. Landon snaps out of his trance, and he becomes good old Landon again. Good old nice guy. They light the room on fire, lock the fucking doors, and kill everybody in the room. Okay, I'm going to go back now to where Riley saw them doing this ceremony with the fucking pledges. Okay? She admitted this when she explained it to her friend. So now you lock them in, set the room on fire. The spell has been broken. Okay? You just killed a bunch of innocent fucking people. My sympathy just went away for you, Riley. The only sympathetic character in the whole fucking movie. And I'm like, okay, girl, you deserve the fucking gas chamber now, because you just killed a bunch of innocent people. But I guess that's all right, because the message of this film is you can kill all the fucking guys, and as long as you get away, it's all good. It's all good because of women power. And I'm like, That's a wonderful fucking message to end your fucking film with. I sat there dumbfounded because the movie ends, and I'm like, holy fuck. Besides the point that you had no real story, no real plot, it's one of the blandest fucking movies I've seen in a long time, and you ended on that note. Now I just hate all the characters in this fucking film. The only decent person is Landon because the other boyfriend got killed. The only person left standing is Landon. It's a decent human being. The rest of these are fucking assholes. Seriously. And they act like it's no problem. Like they don't even think that they just killed a bunch of innocent people. I guarantee there's some guys in there that didn't know what the fuck was going on. And now you just killed them all. Dumb as fuck. And the other thing is, I just shit on this film a lot, but the director does not inject any fun in this film. Now, I heard they shot this for a rated R, and they cut it down for a PG-13, which is very apparent during the film. The hard cuts, the smash cuts around when something happens, you don't even see the aftermath during the film. It's just, the editing is awful in this fucking movie. The direction is terrible. Some of the, like I said, the cinematography is okay, and Imogen Poots is okay. Other than that, this movie's a total fucking shit show. I don't know how this got greenlit. I don't know who approved the fucking script. I don't know why they released this theatrically. This is a fucking VOD movie if I've ever seen one. This did not deserve a theatrical release. I get they were trying to capitalize on the title Black Christmas. They thought it would make them some money. But this movie sucks so bad, it did not deserve to get a fucking theatrical release. I'm sorry. It's awful. I mean, it's fucking lifeless. It's not creative. It's not fun. I've seen B movies like fucking shit. Like I just watched Jaws 5, Cruel Jaws with my buddy Dale a couple months ago. And even though that's not a good film by any stretch of the imagination, at least I had fun with it. There's no fun to be had here. It's a slog to get through. It's taken so seriously. And these girls are not fun characters to be around at all. And all the guys, except for two, are treated like they're fucking scum of the earth. It's just a terrible downer of a fucking film that's not worth your time. I can't recommend this fucking movie. But if you're curious, I always say, check it out and make your own mind up. Maybe you'll find some value in this. I would suggest the only way to watch this film is fucking drunk. It might increase the fun factor because there's no fun to be had. But if you're drunk, it makes everything a little bit more fun. So I would suggest a lot of alcohol to watch this film. That might be the only way to enjoy it. There's nothing really good to say about it. I'll give it a 0.5. Yes, that's right. A 0.5 out of 10 for Black Christmas 2019. A 0.5. This fucking movie sucks. I'll never watch it again. I'll discuss it with my friends, but I'll never fucking watch it again. It's not worth watching. It's a slog to get through. I swear to God, this movie is fucking awful. And I don't know how it got greenlit. I'll say this. Stick with the 1974 version of this film. It's a classic, and it's well done. I'd say even watch the 2006 remake over this fucking shit show. This movie makes the 2006 remake look like a fucking masterpiece. And I'm not even joking. So yes, have you seen Black Christmas 2019? Leave a comment on down below and let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly appreciate it. You all have a fucking great weekend. And I'll be back next week with 10 till midnight and some other movies. Thanks. See you later. Bye.